Holy words long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Words of life, words of hope, give us strength.
We thank God for once an opportunity to come together to reflect. In this 5th Sunday in Ordinary Time, year B, we are still being led by Mark. Last Sunday, we heard how Jesus, teaching with authority, and this authority that people recognized, casted out demon from someone in the synagogue. That was Mark's Gospel. We are still in chapter 1. We ended at verse 28. The church presents to us the continuation of this Gospel from verses 29 to 39. Here, to stop a bit and meditate and reflect on the implication of this Gospel for us. That is where I will be paying some of our attention. We'll also pay attention to the details following the indication of time, when time changes, when people change. The Gospel started immediately saying, immediately leaving the synagogue. Remember, it is not mentioned here, but we are on the Sabbath day. That was it, on the Sabbath. On that Gospel of last Sunday of the 4th, when he casted out someone who was possessed. This Jesus, who after being baptized also by John the Baptist, started preaching, announced that there is no time, that we should repent and believe in the kingdom. The first encounter that Mark presents was encountering this man in the synagogue, where we are praying, where we are possessed, casting out this demon. He left immediately. There's no time. Brothers and sisters, there's no time to waste in saying yes to God, in doing what we ought to do. There's no time to waste. Immediately he left with Simon, Andrew, James and John. He went to the house of these people who, when he called them, let us not forget, left everything and followed him. Most of us, it comes to mind, one of the things that really scandalized me while I was growing was coming near to many big men, many big people who are successful, and looking, seeing those working with them, seeing their relatives. When people work with us, do we continually expect them to leave what they have, to make their own sacrifices? How much do we know about the lives, about the troubles of those who are staying with us? So the first thing that Jesus did, very important, leaving that synagogue, that same Sabbath day, let us not forget that we are still on the Sabbath day, was to go to the house of Simon. Most of us run away because we don't want to encounter problems. We don't want to ask people, how are you feeling? How about your father? How about your mother? Because we want to run away from problems. But Jesus entering there, he saw problems, of course. There, we saw the mother-in-law of Simon, who was sick. Mark wrote about 40 years, more than 35 years from when these things happened. So he's more of doing theology, more of reflecting that symbolic. We have before us a woman, the image of a woman, sick. Who is a woman? The first time we find a woman is in Genesis chapter 2, when Adam had no helper. A woman cannot be a woman if he doesn't help, if she doesn't serve. Little wonder then, woman is the image of the church, like Mary. And every time that there is real life is when we accept this image of a helper, of someone who serves. So this person is sick, just as we are sick, just as we notice sickness of people who no longer want to serve, who no longer want to be helpers, like women. They want to be like those who are trying to dominate. Remember that this problem of trying to dominate is a problem that the church has. Peter, all of them, up to the end. Mark will say in chapter 9, for example, that when Jesus announced about his death, that they were trying to know who was the head. Luke will even put it during the Last Supper. That was when they were trying to know who will be served and not who serves. So we are sick every time our motivation is to be served and not to serve. Our world is finishing. Families are finishing because women, I don't want to enter into this issue of feminism or patriarchism, but women are going to places where they are to be helped and not places where they respond naturally, joyfully as helpers. So this woman is there. Interesting also, just as the beginning of the gospel of this Sunday told us, that immediately they told Jesus about her. We have people who are sick, who cannot serve, who are egoistic, who have this problem, who are selfish. It's not just about talking, about complaining. Have you talked to Jesus? Have you presented to Jesus that person? So when they told Jesus, we see how Jesus came and healed her. They said he raised her up. Resurrection, holding her by the hand. Even first, the word said that he came near, pros erchomai, he came near to her. He didn't run away from problems. You can't resolve a problem without coming nearer to it. No longer our Pope was telling us that the pastors should have the smell of the sheep. He came near, held her by the hand, and raised her up. We don't need those who will be complaining, who will be lamenting, who are there, who are criticizing us, who are telling us how much we don't know how to do something. We need those who will come, who will hold us, who will raise us up. And immediately the fever left her. She stood up and then went back to her original nature, how God wanted her to be, and she was serving them. After this, we have another indication of time, the end of the Sabbath. They said, when it was evening, when the sun set, after the setting of the sun in the evening, because after the Sabbath, people could move. That was why they brought so many people who were sick, who were possessed, and Jesus healed them. Jesus, as he was also casting out demons, he impeded them from talking because they knew him. The confessions they make about him is not correct. That's why. Finished this session, the last part of the gospel, which is very interesting and very touching, was what happened the next morning. We heard that early in the morning, when it was still dark, Jesus went to a place alone and was praying. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the heart of our problem, the heart of everything. Because sometimes we are acting without discernment. Worst still, this time when we have so many means of communication that brings to us so many voices, or when you have so many problems, so many difficulties, that is exactly when we need more to pray. So as Jesus was praying, Peter, we were told, and those who were with him, they rushed, came to Jesus. What are you doing here? People are looking for you. Everybody's looking for you. Maybe Peter, finally, I can imagine the type of crisis he was having when he was communicating to his people. When he was communicating to his people that he has left everything to follow Jesus. Finally, he's now to affirm that he didn't make a wrong choice. But Jesus, since he was praying, he knew what God wanted. He was not distracted, not even by the sickness, not even by the need. He told Peter, we must go to other places. because that was why I came. Because he was listening to God, because he was able to pray. From this prayer, he was able to discern, to know what was necessary, and was able to respond to that. I invite us each to follow Jesus who comes to us. I invite us each to pray, to listen to him, to present to him those who are having problems, to listen to him so that he be the one to help us discern and do what we're supposed to do. And that above all, that our encounter with God will raise us up like Peter's mother-in-law so that we can serve. Peace be with you.